thank you so much. I had a chance just to go around and thank a number of parents. Probably this group of students, too big for the Porter room. So we wanted to bring all of you down here and just spend a moment thanking you, first off, for doing an incredible job as parents and family members and supporters, and then also recognize your daughters and your sons. My name is Bob McBride. Really a pleasure to be superintendent of Lockport Township High School District 205. In a moment, I'm going to have our board president come on up just to say hello to you, but we have to formally do the pledge and open up this meeting as an open school board meeting. I just want to preface what we're about to do. I've had a lifelong career in public education. I'm almost 40 years into the thing. I think it's so important to really, when our students do well, when they do incredible things, not to just let that fly by. Like, that just happened, let's go on to the next thing. This particular thing is a great follow-on to last month. Some of you were here last month, where there's an organization in the United States called the College Board. And what does the College Board do? Well, they work on two things. They work on one of the two major college entrance exams in the United States. They develop the SAT. And they also work on this whole program called Advanced Placement, where they develop courses and tests. About 36 of them. We offer most of them, except for like Latin, Greek, and Mandarin, where students can take the course, a college course here at Lockport Township High School District 205, and if they score well on the test, their college likely will give them college credit. For example, I have 2 college graduates. The McBride family benefited greatly from them taking advanced placement classes. Last month, we acknowledged 431 students, I think the highest that I know of in the Chicagoland area. I could be wrong. That's not a statistical analysis. 431 students who are advanced placement scholars. Tonight, we are here to acknowledge a pretty big class. College Board has a program called National Merit. And for many years, I was talking to some of the parents, there were different designations in that National Merit program. How do you get in that program? Well, you take a test as a junior called the PSAT NMSQT. Say that fast, PSAT NMSQT. That's qualifying for National Merit. Then you take the SAT as well. And this group of students was the last group of students who took the SAT required by the state of Illinois. Why are they here tonight? To make a very long story boring, the College Board used to have National Merit finalists, semifinalists, commended, achievement, and they've changed the sort of nomenclature to finalists, semifinalists, big future, and school recognition. That is a lot of superintendent speak that bores you to say this. This is what this means. Last year, about 3.5 million American juniors took the PSAT and MSQT or the SAT. What tonight's recognition means is that these students landed in the top 1% of that 3.5 million. So let's just think about that for a minute. You're in the top 1% of students your age in the nation. And I just think, we can't just let that pass by. We just have to take a time out and really acknowledge these students, have them walk across, hear their name in front of our board, have our board write into its history as a district their names, because they did this. Some of them back there, I have the great pleasure of, they've asked me to write college recommendations for them, and what a thrill, because they are such strong students, and you have also helped them become even better, really strong people, great human beings. So it's with a lot of honor and humility that the Board of Education and myself will honor them tonight. You ready? Yeah, let's do this. Let's see these kids and thank them. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shaw, then she's going to turn it over to Mr. Oster, one of our assistant principals, who is going to have all these students come on by. So, Dr. Shaw. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take some time to open up the meeting. So do I have a motion to reconvene the regular board meeting? Ms. Johnson? Seconded by Ms. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes. If we could all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe we're turning it over to Ms. Roser.
Okay, so Dr. McBride stole a little bit of the thunder here, but I'm going to read the part about what College Board Big Future is. So College Board Big Future, first generation in school recognition honorees have earned this distinction by excelling on assessments such as the PSAT, NMSQT, PSAT 10, and the AP exams, and by maintaining strong academic performance in the classroom. Recognition is granted to those who excel in coursework, assessments, and represent the top performing students in their state, school, and communities. There are two different recognitions today, and many of the students have achieved both of them. So they're going to be mixed together, and I'll read which achievements they got as well there. So for the Big Future first generation, the recognition reads, whereas the Big Future first generation recognition honors students who are first in their families to attend college, recognizing their determination, resilience, and leadership in setting a new path for future generations. And the Big Future School Recognition, whereas the Big Future School Recognition celebrates students who demonstrate strong academic performance, perseverance, and commitment to pursuing higher education. So be it resolved by the Board of Education in Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that the following students from Lockport Township High School are hereby recognized for receiving College Board Big Future School Recognition and/or Big Future First Generation Recognition for their outstanding academic achievement and college readiness. Andrew Bailey, School Recognition. Abigail Basinger, School Recognition. Aaron Ben, School Recognition. Thomas Boguslawski, School Recognition. Luciana Bongiovanni, First Generation and School Recognition. John Brashears, School Recognition. Xavier Briseño, School Recognition. Charles Connor, School Recognition. Bianca Demetrio, School Recognition. Colton Donat, First Generation and School Recognition. Jacob Estrada, School Recognition. Morgan Ebert, First Generation. Ethan Foss, School Recognition. Brandon Gavin, First Generation and School Recognition. Doe Kim, School Recognition. Emilia Kroll, School Recognition. Haley Kurzak, School Recognition. Angelica Quack, First Generation. Andre Labuda, School Recognition. Dominic Longo, School Recognition. Brianna Lopez, First Generation. George Masterakos, School Recognition. Chloe McDonald, School Recognition. Callie Morgan, School Recognition. Julia Mullis, School Recognition. Alexander Muniz, First Generation. Caitlin Nelson, School Recognition. Maximus Newt, First Generation and School Recognition. Kyra O'Callahan, School Recognition. Jackson O'Leary, School Recognition. Adam Paulica, First Generation and School Recognition. Shane Peak, School Recognition. Aiva Peculis, School Recognition. Alexandra Rathnow, School Recognition. Alexander Ray, School Recognition. Juliana Reyes, School Recognition. Katrina Reingans, School Recognition. Emmanuel Sanchez, First Generation and School Recognition. Gavin Segovich, School Recognition. Aiden Salcido, First Generation and School Recognition. Bertha Schweipai, First Generation and School Recognition. Molly Sechek, school recognition. Evelyn Shedlarczyk, school recognition. Lucas Streeter, school recognition. Joseph Zarzinski, first generation and school recognition. Emily Velasquez, first generation and school recognition. James Wyatt, school recognition. Isaac Zimmerman, school recognition.
Okay, thank you for everybody, to everybody for coming this evening. Also, thank you for trusting us with your children, and congratulations to you all. If we could not have done, well, I say we like I work here, but I don't. They could not have done what they did without your trust and your support at home, and just you giving us wonderful students to work with. So thank you for everything that you've done for your students. All right, so do I have a motion to accept the resolutions as presented?
So. Second.
I'm sorry, just a second. All right, roll call.
Lillian Pineda,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes. Okay, so we are going to reconvene our meeting in the Porter Room. You are welcome to join us. If not, you are welcome to come and use these wonderful backdrops to take pictures and head out. So thank you.
Great job.
All right, now that we've reconvened to the Porter Room, we'll reconvene our meeting. So we start with board salutes.
I'll go ahead and start. I attended the band concert this week, or last week, and with some other board members. Nice to see you there. So I just really enjoy getting to experience the arts. My experience with extracurriculars has always been on the athletic side for my kids. So it's really kind of special to get to go and see just how talented our kids are, and then just all the work and dedication that goes to put on a concert like that. I mean, the kids were learning a lot of different pieces. Some had many different parts within just one particular piece. So I just really have grown to appreciate all that goes into it, and the kids are just amazingly talented. But a shout out to Brian Covey and Anna Murdoch, Chad Getz and Jean Garcera, thank you, for just working so hard with those kids and putting on such a great show. And then another one that I have is just for Brian Ammer. He's a newbie, and it's been a very eventful first few months of the school year. So thanks for all the work that he's been putting in to make sure that our facilities keep humming along and dealing with any of issues that come out of the blue. So thanks so much.
I definitely would follow up on the music performance that the kids had this week. They were truly wonderful. We really enjoyed it, and so impressive. And I thought it was incredibly fun that they did a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train for the percussion, which
So good.
we could totally get behind. That was very fun. And then I think my husband and I witnessed one of the greatest passes and catches to a quarterback in Lockport's history on Friday night at the game. But I don't think it counted. I'm not a big football person, but do like to go.
There was an ineligible man downfield. It was we saw the same thing.
It was great though. It was so
the 46-yard pass.
Yeah, it was huge. So yes, it was very exciting. And I do want to have a big shout out to, I think it's Mr. Collier, am I saying it right? That he is in charge of our color guard. My daughter has been a part of the color guard this past season, and he's just done such phenomenal work with the kids. I'm amazed. He takes them from 0 to 60. It's amazing where they start out from, which is nothing, to what he can get them to do out on the grounds, and it's so exciting to watch. And Friday night at the game, it was just a really wonderful night with the kids. Nice.
And I'm not a board member, so I'm not doing a board member salute, but I would second that. If you ever have a chance to go see when color guard becomes winter guard and goes indoors, we have a winter guard that's been nationally recognized, and we've done a board recognition. You will never see anything like that. It really is incredible. It's one part Broadway, one part dance, one part costumes. It's incredible.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I have my board salutes too. Also, again, to Mr. Brian Covey and Anna Mudrock as we're in the the fall concert, and again that game that was very spectacular. We were there, so and also my shout out to Mr. Brian Elmer, for everything that you've done, and all the problems that you encountered, especially with the water, the leak here. That I guess you and Bob and your staff stayed till 4 o'clock in the morning. Was it 4? Was it 4 o'clock in the morning?
Well, that I think that was not me. That was August 18th.
August,
Mr. Ammer
yes,
was
there
in the
was
wee hours at Central.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't think you had to do a late night.
No, it was
The
Oh,
last
all right.
last
But
problem
yes,
we
but
had here at
thank
East
you for all
Campus.
the hard work you've done, so far for your short tenure here.
I have a couple. So first, I'd like to thank Dr. Greenan and his crew in his office for putting together a wonderful staff and family event prior to homecoming. Miss Kishline and her crew that does all the tickets and the manning. I mean, that is a tremendous job. Thank you for doing that. The homecoming game was just great, and without you guys, it wouldn't happen. The Best Buddies sponsors, Caitlin Bloom and Heather Black, for organizing the trunk or treat this past Saturday. All the kids had a wonderful time scaring each other, and it was good. And then after that, I got to mosey on over to the conference cross country meet, and I'd just like to thank Mr. Dwyer for constantly putting on great events for our athletes as well as the cross country coaches. I'm sure they have played a huge part in that as well.
I'd like to salute Dr. McBride and the staff for taking care of that water main break without having to close the school. So, you know.
All right, student board report.
So James and I have two things we're going to cover. We're going to cover the advisory council meeting, and then we're going to go over a few things the students have been doing. So first, with the advisory board meeting, the social emotional learning group had a Zoom call with the Move This World Foundation, and we learned about the resources they have. We got student access to, let me rephrase that. We got access to the teachers' side to see what the teacher's perspective was like. And overall, the students and I found that it was really beneficial, and we think that it will have a good place in LTHS.
The students in the discipline committee, they're doing a lot of investigative work, and that includes visiting BIC and interviewing deans to get a better understanding of the way discipline is conducted at Lockport.
We also did a lot of work with the 8-period day. Overall, it sounds like everyone's in favor for it. There's options for leaving early and coming in late, and students seem to be in favor for that. Optional study halls was also something that a lot of people brought up. If someone doesn't want the extra rigor of another class, they should have the option to have a study hall. Another thing that they mentioned was that they didn't want graduation requirements raised. James?
And then for finance and facilities, the students focused on utilizing outdoor space more efficiently, like the courtyards that we have, how we can better use them. Some students think that the bathrooms and locker rooms need attention, especially the ones by the maroon room. If you've been in there, they're a little bit weird, I'd say. I don't even know how to describe it.
They're old.
Yeah, they're old. And then some of them brought up the idea of new turf. And then that's kind of what was said in the facilities master planning, where Mr. Amer discussed various projects that could happen around East Campus. And then as a group, we broke off and discussed the proposals.
And then we also wanted to talk a little about homecoming week as the students. So if you want to go to the next slide, please, Dr. McBride. So here are some of the pictures from homecoming. The top pictures are all pictures from the dance. So is the bottom, the middle left. The middle right picture is the student assemblies. The teachers got together and did a dance routine for us. Officer Brock was in there too, and that was probably the highlight of my homecoming week.
So the theme was Let's Glow Crazy, and then NHS, I'm part of the NHS board, we kind of had a big decision making and making the theme. So then the pictures at the top are us from the dance, and the dances, I'm not sure how homecoming was for you guys.
Not like that.
Did it look like this?
Probably not.
No.
See, ours is more almost like a nightclub vibe. Times have changed a little bit.
But we did have a new DJ this year, and overall, we really loved the new DJ. The student body was really pleased with the homecoming dance.
Yeah, and then throughout the week, there was lots of fun activities. So the bottom left corner, that's from the football game. That's the student section. We're in our neon, supporting our porters. The bottom middle one, that's Boys Palms. We performed at the Powder Puff game. I'm actually in there. It was a fun routine. Shout out to the Girls Palms for teaching us.
And if you watched the Instagram page, we had anything but a backpack day. There was a lot of fun stuff there.
Yes.
And then that's Barbecue Moms versus Soccer Dad in the bottom right corner. That's our friend Mateo and Giovanna. We asked to get a picture with him. I really liked his costume or whatever. And then the last picture is us, all the board members, student board members.
So homecoming week was a hit, and this week is Red Ribbon Week, so we're standing up against drugs this week. Today was pajama day. It was pretty fun.
Nice.
And then last, Ryan and I participated in the Adventure Ed kayaking trip with Mr. Veal and Mr. Zimitz. It was a day of fun. The students were able to use skills they learned in a real life environment. So instead of just being in the pool, we got to go to Yorkville and kayak, which was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a question, going back to the 8-period day. I missed what you said. Did students say they did or did not want additional graduation requirements?
They did not want.
Did not.
Any more questions, either about the dance or anything?
What did you guys mean when you said you wanted to have more discussion about how the courtyards are used?
So around East Campus, there's like courtyards. So like there's one that's in the new wing that was built in 2017, like by the math and science departments. There's some like in between like the classrooms, and just like maybe using that for outdoor learning or whatever the students feel like they could use that for, instead of it just being an area where there's a window and you look out.
Yeah, it's a lot of dead space right now, and we want to look at like using that for outdoor learning.
It's not used at all right now.
There are a few. I think the special needs department uses it.
A few of them are used. Like I know the newest one is used the most, I feel like, because it has turf and it's like nicer to go out there.
Okay, good to know.
SEL days for some teachers.
Could students go outside and eat lunch if they wanted to?
They cannot.
No.
You know, and that's a safety and security issue just in terms of, you know, keeping a safe campus, making sure that, you know, in this day and age, students are inside, we can guarantee their safety better than we can in outdoor settings.
But I'm sure your question is in reference to the courtyards, possibly using those.
That's what I-
Also making sure the classes
Right.
aren't being disturbed during that time.
Yeah, the courtyards were originally designed in this building to create interior light. So you didn't have quite so many rooms that had no windows at all. But it's a good conversation we had at Superintendent's Advisory Council, because James is right. The one out in Math and Science, the 2017 edition, is very pleasant. We have Child Development in the past has used it for their preschool graduation. Science was out there today doing just, it was a beautiful day, taking advantage of that. Sometimes you'll see PE classes out there doing resilient youth. The other courtyards are not as developed and aren't as used, but they could be beautified. You know, I think under a particular use, you could find use for them, and they are safe because they're totally enclosed. You know, they're enveloped within the building, so there's no, you know, exterior kind of loss of perimeter, so to speak.
So how many of them are completely enclosed?
All of them are.
All of them? Okay.
Every single one.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, there's one in the tech office, there's one over in world language, there's one in math and science, there's the one in the new 2017 that's the most developed.
Yeah, I'm familiar with some of them. I just don't remember how they all were
Right.
constructed. So.
Yeah, they're all
Okay.
enclosed.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? Okay. All right, AFT report.
Hey.
Hello.
Good to see everyone. I don't have much to say tonight, but as I listen to your salutes and looking at today's agenda, it is my role as an AFT union president to protect jobs. And I would question, why are you voting an 8-period schedule through? Is it to expose our students to make them well-rounded individuals, to prepare them for life after high school? So I hope that a lot of thought goes into, are we just leaving early so that we can clear a parking lot? Or can we get creative with unique ways of learning, you know, maybe increasing our work-based learning, or, you know, different opportunities where, you know, some of you were here when we went to a split schedule, but, you know, it is very important to connect our students to school, and that's when they're most successful. And all the examples you saluted tonight is how kids are connected to school. And so I do worry that if you know, let them come late or leave early, they're not going to take those opportunities that this school has in every capacity and has protected and really put a lot of money and effort into. On top of all the students that were honored here tonight, it takes a very dedicated staff, and you don't get that when you make choices, you know, where you could cut staff. So I hope a lot of thought goes into that with, you know, even though students might not want the credits, it will benefit them, you know. So I hope, you know, some thought goes into that before we make those big decisions, because I'm very excited about it. I do think it's going to give students who did not have the opportunities to take classes, you know, that they can now take, because we're, you know, offering that and giving them that ability. So I just don't want to live the life I lived when we were on split schedule, because it took a long time to recover from that, both on our staff side and our student side. So I think it's important to remember, why are we offering 8 periods? Just to protect everybody, the students and our staff. So thank you.
Question. In one hand, it seems like you're against it. In the other hand, it seems like you're for.
I am 100% for an 8-period day. I think the more ability you have for students to take different classes, I think your high school career is where you should test classes. And I think, you know, that's when you really get a feel for what you like and what you can build, you know, into something, turn it into a career. I think we offer everything here at Lockport. I think there's other ways we can add on to different types of learning. Near and dear to my heart would be the work-based learning life that is becoming a big part of the CTE area. So I think you can get creative. I think the old days of just a traditional class has gone away, but I think there's a lot of different opportunities that we can give our students that might just look different, but we almost fool them into learning, as I like to say. So, and connect the classroom to the real world.
With the eight schedule? Okay.
8-period day, yeah.
8-period day.
Yep.
And if, with your permission, Mrs. Kishline, I think, Mrs. Kishline's giving a really nice preview of my superintendent report, because what we're asking the board to approve is the concept and the cost. There are a coterie of issues that have to be decided if the board greenlights this. And she's referencing one of the really important decisions. And one of those really important decisions are the shape and the parameters that we give students. Having spent almost 2 years on this, and then really last year very intensively with the committee that we were lucky our union leaders were on, that some students were on, Superintendent Advisory Council, people are spying up different aspects of, what if I don't need, an extra class as a student? What are my options? Are there other options as people think about that? And I've talked to all of you in the past couple of weeks about that as well. The intent of it is really to go to an 8-period day is opportunity. What we noted in our research was that our students, up against whatever schedule we looked at in the Chicago area, our students didn't have as much opportunity for academic coursework or work experience or art or music, not to say that that's not academic, or to explore areas they'd never explored before as other students at other schools and other school districts, right? So that is something that our committee is going to have to work out and make a recommendation to you. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in my superintendent advisory council, superintendent report. Right now we're at that stage where lots of people have had fingerprints on this and have noticed things and brought things up, but if the board greenlights it, we're going to have to narrow some of the parameters. And I'll mention, a number of them tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
IASB report.
We got a lot of new stuff coming up. We have the III coming. Hopefully everybody has signed up for that. We had a 3 Rivers dinner that's coming up soon. So if you haven't signed up for that, see Kathy, she'll sign you up. And I noticed in the board packet that here, some training that you can take, webinars. ISAB has some good webinars, so take advantage of it. So That's about all I have.
Okay, and then when would you like board members to get you the resolution, their choices for
Got
AAA?
another month, right?
We
You,
have a meeting
you
right
could go,
before,
I mean, I
right?
think you'd be okay at the November board meeting, because the
Right.
November board meeting will be before III.
Mhm.
And I usually closer to III, take the packet. We brought some extra packets if anybody needs one. The tear off your recommendation. I do a sort of in your board, your Friday board update. Here's my hot take on the resolutions. You know, what I would recommend: vote yes, indifferent, doesn't impact us. You know, vote no against this one. And what it is it's not a binding resolution, but it gives marching orders to the Illinois Association of School Boards to work with legislators, to work with policymakers on the behalf of its member school districts. So as Ms. Johnson knows, people take it very seriously at the delegate assembly on that Saturday of III. Apologize that I won't be joining you. Usually I really like to go to the Three River Division meeting. Last year, Dr. Shaw and Mrs. Gerritsen and I, we actually went to the DuPage region because there was a topic, something along the lines of what Ms. Kishline, internships, work opportunity that we wanted to see. They're usually very, very good. I had to postpone some vacation time from 2 weeks ago, so that's coming up later this week. So we just also threw in some podcasts and some resources there.
Okay. Foundation board report.
Mrs. Adolph is not here this evening, taking a little sick time. And, you know, any questions anyone has, you know, there were board members helping out at Taste of Lockport. You know, I saw some good social media with Wendy Strite, you know, working it, doing a great job. It was the first time we had a wee bit of rain, so that might have, you know, dampened the enthusiasm, but still things went very, very well. And you can kind of see the report. We have additional scholarships. You know, one of the things we have some very, very generous community members and alumni. We just had a new $50,000 scholarship last week. Mrs. Adolph is very, very skilled at seeking donors and people who want to fund scholarships for our graduating seniors of all types. I'll start the message now. Apply. There are so many different scholarships for every kind of next step you're going to take in your life. It's really incredible. And then also we're inviting the Nutcracker back for the third year in a row, which has been a great hit, using our auditorium, and the foundation is sort of arranged that. You can see the dates there as well. So great job. We'll be back here November 4th in the Porter Room if any board members want to attend, right at 4 o'clock.
Okay. There's no legislative report?
There is no. I did get an update today, not quick enough, out of the veto session. What's happening with the veto session in Springfield is there's some curating, adjusting, revising some of the bills that'll end up on the governor's final desk for signing. So it's almost more like, shouldn't be called a veto session, it should be called a revision session. This is when the governor's office says to the legislator, we're not going to sign this unless you make some of these types of changes. Some of those changes get made and then move forward. So next month I'll have the outcome. Veto session's running a little bit later than it generally does. So I'll have that for you.
Okay. Public comment follow-up?
Yeah, one follow-up. You, last month, you had Mr. Dan Cantrell was here, and Mr. Cantrell, just to remind the board of Mr. Cantrell's concern, and it's our concern too, safety is always a concern, was a bus stop at Brentwood Court and Hadley Road. Hadley, kind of a two-lane road. Right around the corner is Bell Road. At that sort of corner, that intersection, they're deliberately there are bump outs that sort of take anyone who's standing there about 10 feet away from the street. And the concern Mr. Cantrell had is, rather than picking up on that side, which is the west side, so students don't have to cross Hadley Road, Mr. Cantrell wanted our buses to go up into Hadley Court. The problem with that is, if you go up in Hadley Court, any given day, our buses would have to back up in order to get out of Hadley Court. It's a very narrow court. We also serve 5 other courts on Hadley Road there that are a similar situation. You got a 70-passenger bus, 40 feet long. When you get into inclement weather, backing up is very dangerous for large school buses. I had shared prior to the board meeting with Mr. Cantrell our feeling like that the where students stood was safe, that we've operated that bus stop for years without incident. And really, I'd invite anybody just to drive around and really think about where you see high school age students standing for the bus. I would make the argument and shared with Mr. Cantrell that most of our students are actually in other settings standing closer to the street, because if you look at where most of our sidewalks are, they're about 3 to 4 feet from the curb. Or if you look at students standing on a corner, they're about 4 to 5 feet from the actual curb of the street. Take into account student age, take into account student awareness, and luckily we've not had an incident at any corner or any stop on any type of Catton Farm Road, Bell Road, Hadley Road. Right, we really try to cite those so that there is safety. I would say this particular stop is actually a student's able to stand even further away than most of our typical stops. Mr. Cantrell was not happy or not satisfied with that. Spoke to the Will County ROE. The Will County ROE, kind of sent him back to us, and then went to the ISBE Business and Transportation Division, who took his complaint, looked at the site, looked at how many students are there, affirmed a number of things. 1, these are appropriately aged students. Number 2, there's appropriate spot and distance from the road. 3, they affirmed one of the most dangerous things that large school buses can do is back up, and they affirmed that in that spot, it's likely our buses would have to back up. So they dismissed Mr. Cantrell's complaint. I did call Mr. Cantrell because we're very interested in, if we can work with Homer Township roads to have reflectors, to have board member Wendy Strite and I talked about some of the things that are reflectors that mark bike lanes, more signage that there are stops. But that was not what Mr. Cantrell was looking for. So we've really gone as far as we can go other than monitoring this issue.
Okay. Public comments. At each regular board meeting, members of the public and district employees may address the school board during public comments, the public comments section of the agenda. Individuals appearing before the board are expected to respectfully follow the guidelines of policy 2:230 and policy 8:30, available upon sign-in. Public comments are important to the board. However, it is customary not to respond on issues until time has been taken to gather information and discuss all options. Lack of action or response at the time of comment does not imply lack of interest in the issues being brought to the board. And then Ms. Lopez Caneva, are you able to keep time? Okay, perfect. First, we have Josephine Elson. And if you would please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Josephine Elson.
Oh, and can you push the button on your?
It turns
Thank you.
green. You're on,
Perfect.
Josephine.
Okay. Hello, my name is Josephine Elson, and I'm a student leader for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or FCA group here at LTHS. I'm here to speak because I feel that our group is not receiving the same treatment as other groups at Lockport. The board policy on equal access group, section 3.7.330, states that, quote, all non-curriculum related student groups that are not district sponsored receive substantially the same treatment, end quote. We do not feel that we are being treated fairly. First of all, we looked into other schools who also offer FCA, and they are recognized on their websites and social media pages for the school. Some of the other schools who have FCA on their websites include Wilmington High School, Manteno High School, and the Lincoln Way High Schools. Focusing on Lincoln Way specifically, they have the same board policy as Lockport in terms of equal access groups, and FCA at their schools is considered an official club. However, FCA here is not. Additionally, other schools are able to promote their FCA events and the club in general through school websites, social media pages, and newsletters, yet we are informed that our district will not share any information about our FCA through our PR department. We also placed invitations to events and stickers in the teacher's workroom, but they were removed. However, other clubs put invitations and items in the teacher's workroom, and they are not removed. We're wondering why. Some schools who have promoted FCA include Plainfield High School through their principal's newsletter, Peatone High School, and Oak Forest High School through a post on their official school Facebook pages. On behalf of the other leaders and students in FCA, we would like to be treated with substantially the same treatment as other extracurricular activities at LTHS. We would like to become an official club, and we would like to know what FCA needs to do that. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Next, we have Abigail Michalski.
Good evening. My name is Abigail Michalski, and I am one of the leaders of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes chapter here at Lockport Township High School. Our current chapter was started last year and is reviving a group that Lockport used to have in past years. I am here to address, on behalf of my fellow members of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, our current issues with the board policy concerning EAGs, extracurricular activities. The current policy on EAGs, section 7.330, states that all non-curriculum related student groups that are not district sponsored receive substantially the same treatment. But it is pretty clear that the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here is not receiving the same treatment as other clubs. Whenever we seek clarification for why our requests are denied, we are simply told that they go against all policies the school board here has set. Some of the ways the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here is not being treated like other clubs are that we are not allowed to be listed on the website or have our own social media pages. But yet, any announcements such as meeting dates, we are not allowed to be sharing over the morning announcements. In addition, unlike other clubs, we are warned not to hang flyers or put stickers in teacher workrooms, as we're technically promoting our religion, though we are not forcing it on anybody. Finally, we were denied the right to walk in the homecoming parade, and when asked for clarification as to why, we were simply told that no new clubs were allowed to walk in it. Despite that reasoning, though, another club, also started last year, was able to walk in the parade. Lockport Township High School prides itself on inclusivity and equality. However, the reasons I have just stated lead us to conclude that the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is currently not being afforded the same welcome as other clubs and organizations are. All we are asking for is clarification on why we do not get the same opportunities as other clubs and guidance on steps we must take to gain those opportunities and become a fully recognized official club. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, communications, there are none. Freedom of information requests, there are 2. Board members can read those at their leisure. Okay, up next we have our approval items. Approval of board meeting open session minutes from September 15th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by motion by Ann Lopez Canivas, seconded by Ms. Garrettson. Roll call.
Garrettson,
Yes.
Lopez Caneva,
Yes.
Strike,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes from September 15th, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Hayes,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Garrettson,
Yes.
Lopez Caneva,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Strike,
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the September 22nd, 2025 special board meeting?
I can make that motion.
A motion.
Okay, motion by Tammy Hayes. Michaeline, are you willing to second that?
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Strike,
Yes.
Garrettson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Lopez Caneva,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes from the September 22nd, 2025 special board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Ms. Garrettson, seconded by Ms. Straight. Roll call?
Johnson?
Yeah.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Garrison?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the October 2025 board expenses?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Hayes. Roll call?
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Garrison?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. I'm sorry. No, that's great. Go ahead. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, treasurer's report. Ms. Croy?
Yeah. Come on down. Anything you want to highlight? Always highlights in the financial report, right?
Good evening.
So there's nothing new in the treasurer's report, but probably the thing you might notice most is our statement of position. We're back up to, if you look at last month compared to this month, we're back up to above the board's goal of 12 months cash on hand, right? And that's because we collected all of the taxes, right? September was the big month, was collecting the rest of the tax. So now from here forward, we'll be spending and spending and spending until May. So this is kind of like a high point, right, of collections. And then those funds will be used to spend all of the expenses for the rest of the number of months until we get the next levy, right? That's probably the biggest thing. I'm sure the board also saw a brief note about the audit. So that is also kind of in the works. The audit has been performed from last year. The auditors were out in early September. So the only thing holding it up is really these regulations. They can't finish their work until they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. As far as reporting federal grants, right? Like everything else, all of their other field work has been done. And they're finalizing reports for us, but they won't be able to finish it until then. So I don't know if there's any questions on that, or if there's any questions on any of the other parts of the treasurer's report.
And I would just highlight for the board, one of the growing concerns people are starting to see it on the horizon is, we have about 2% of our budget is federal funds. It's not, lion's share and title grants, IDEA. And every year those grants come with guidelines, reporting, spending, auditing, and that comes from the United States Department of Education. Without staff at United States Department of Education, just across the state, that kind of guidance has not come out. So our auditors, in this particular case, need guidance of how they are to audit our spending, and we haven't had a release of the guidelines. Now, the concern gets downrange when we get into Title I, Title II, where will we be with those funds? Because traditionally, it's been the United States Department of Education that served those to the states with guidelines that, we see reports that Mrs. Croy does, Dr. Christofero, Dr. Huntington does. So those guidelines are an important mechanism to getting that either approved or into the field or spent correctly. We're very attentive to that. So it's something that just is sort of brooding around our financial picture right now. Hard to tell where it's ultimately all going to go. We hope, obviously we would like to have those federal funds, but we spent a lot of time talking about what if we don't have those federal funds. And I pulled up the cash flow just so board members can see that, this collection is what Mrs. Croy was talking about.
Yes. So the bar on the left is the revenue. Bar on the middle bar is the spending, and then actually it's the opposite. Total cash and investments is the blue, and then cash receipts and then cash disbursements. So
So you'll see this a particular time where the cash receipts sort of dwarf the cash disbursements, but that is really going to carry us for the next 6 months. Is the way that is
There's
intended.
really 2 months of the year that middle bar is higher than the far right bar.
Right. And one of the things I always remind board members is, we have that kind of steady cash flow because in our community, so many of our homeowners escrow their mortgage and their taxes. And the reason why that's important is when homeowners decide to do that, that obligates the bank, no matter what that homeowner is doing, to pay that property tax. So that cash flow is a pretty steady cash flow through the banking system. We have a very high proportion of homeowners that do that of all sorts. So it creates very stable cash flow.
Quick question about the audit. So this is happening, the delay is happening and affecting all the schools, right? So there's no, I think I know the answer, but there's no real reason to why this might hurt us in the long run when we go for financing or anything like that?
No, there's no penalty. And in normal circumstances, we would apply for a extension, but they kind of changed the language where there really is no extension, which is interesting. But yes, it's affecting everyone that has what's called a single audit. So if you spend more than, I can't remember the exact threshold, I want to say it's $250,000, but that might be an old number. Basically, if you get a significant amount of federal funds, you have to have what's called a single audit, and it's the compliance. Did we follow all the rules and regulations that Dr. McBride said, right? Did we collect the money properly? Did we spend the money properly? Kind of thing.
Okay, thanks.
And then the auditors help us report it properly. So, yeah. Any other questions? In coming months, so next month we'll have tentative tax levy. And then the month after, we'll be asking the board to approve the tax levy and the resolutions for abatement for debt service levy. And then we'll be talking about projections, financial projections, somewhere along all those lines as well. Not sure
Right,
exactly
and the 5-year financial forecast will eventually get updated.
Yes.
And, just for new board members, for, not so new anymore, really, I don't like to use that term. When we get into the levy, one of the strategies that this board has used is, and this will be, the third year that Mrs. Corey and I will recommend it, is a debt service abatement. And what that means is that what we've been trying to do is not add a new tax burden to our taxpayers. You took out a $15 million loan last year. That $15 million loan has loan payments. If you don't use your fund balances to pay those loan payments, then what happens is a debt service levy gets added on to the typical levy after we submit our levy, and then that gets passed off to the taxpayer. Really, a debt service abatement says to the Will County assessor, no need to do that debt service levy. We're going to pay for it through a different funding mechanism. So that doesn't get passed on to our taxpayers in order to pay for those loan payments for the money that we've been using to do construction at Central. The only thing, from us that's really going to, increase when you get into levy season is the assessed value of a home. That really is the lever. Even if our tax rate goes down, even if we do a debt service abatement, the single biggest lever is the assessed value of a home. However, our 3 assessors we work with decide that. And right now it looks like that's going to be a 6 to 7% increase. So that's the thing that leads to someone's bill looking greater than it was last year, is the value of that person's home went up. So that's been our strategy. As you get into more and more decisions, you might not be able to hold to that strategy as you look at, for example, facility master planning. That's really the bigger issue that this board will face on the horizon. And, Mrs. Croy, Mr. Armour, myself will be working quite a bit with you on that.
When the 5-year financial projection is updated, my plan is to be able to model the the tool I use will allow us to model like what would happen if we put in facility, capital projects here. What happens if we, put in the cost of the increased cost for the 8-period day schedule, right? New teachers, how many more teachers we need to hire. What happens if we do abate the debt service levy? What happens if we don't abate the debt service levy? With all those combinations, that's the benefit of a tool like the one I use, is that once we have the base projection put together, then we can modify those assumptions and figure out what it'll look like. So that'll be the plan, to bring that kind of data to first the finance and facilities committee, and have a discussion about kind of what do those models look like and what would happen there. So,
and I just brought up these future action considerations. We preview in November the levy, but in December, that is one of those, must approve by, close of business December 31st. That meeting, that board meeting in December is one of those, like your budget, a hard deadline. The budget declares your expenses, and the levy declares how you're going to pay for it. It's one way to think about it in a lot of ways.
And Mrs. Corey, the video that you have on the tax levy that you did a couple of years ago, that still is relevant data, right? And that's still
it is, because for the most part, it talks about the process, right? Not really talking about you can substitute any dollars in, right? It's more talking about the process of how the tax levy works and the pieces of it, right? How does CPI impact it, and how does the pieces like the assessment and the levy, and then compute the rate, all that kind of stuff.
Thanks.
And sometimes, one thing just for board members, as we get into it, sometimes if there's an increase in the levy, a % increase over last year, for example, we'll talk about what the consequences are of not kind of following that increase. What usually drives our increase for the most part is new property. New property comes online. We have about $40 million in new property that's assessed and taxed for the very first time. That brings in income, automatically comes in to the levy, creates an increase in the levy because it's new property, hasn't been taxed, never been in our tax rolls before, new revenue that we can expect to see. So it adds to an increase in the levy. And sometimes what will happen in the public eye is an increase in the levy, people will assume that, that's an increase in my taxes. And the two are not the same at all. How the levy gets expressed on an individual tax bill, it really actually has very little to do with the increase in the levy itself.
There's no direct relationship.
Right, there's really no direct relationship. So I just make you aware of that, because at some point we'll publish a proposed or draft levy. It will, because of new property, I can guarantee you, be an increase in the levy because that new property revenue is coming in. But that increase is not a % increase of everyone's taxes. The only thing we know that impacts everyone is the assessed value of their home. That impacts everybody. That's actually a more direct relationship than new revenue coming in because of new property.
Any other questions? No, I'll save my levy questions for next meeting.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mrs. Gray.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the September 2025 Treasurer's Report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Candace Garrettson, second by Wendy Straight. Roll call.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Johnson, Garrettson. Yes. Wright,
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes. Okay, Board President's Report. So just in the Board President's Report, I wanted to talk a little bit about what the board has been working on as far as a superintendent's contract or a superintendent's search. So as we, as board members, began reflecting on our roles and how we wanted to work together, just so the public knows and we go on record, we've been having discussions behind the scenes of how we want to work together, as well as looking at the current landscape of superintendent searches, as well as where the district is on ongoing projects. So after a lot of thoughtful discussion where everybody weighed in on everything, we agreed that we needed more time to define what we want the next superintendent role to look like, and then we wanted to plan the best path forward. So we decided to offer Dr. McBride a one-year contract extension, so he has agreed to put off his retirement for an additional year, so thank you for that. So he has a proven track record of success. We want the district to continue benefiting from his leadership as we prepare as a board for the future. So throughout this process, every board member had a voice at the table. All of the perspectives were considered and reviewed. We looked at comparable agreements that Dr. McBride has, some past evaluations, and then just his current contract. So all board members had access to that information. As far as the process that we went through, I don't know if any other board members want to chime in on that and kind of what we discussed.
I think maybe from my perspective, because I was able to work a little bit with you on the discussions and the agreement, I think it'll benefit the district well to have a continuity of leadership during a time where we're getting some things up and running, and we'll be able to have rely and utilize Dr. McBride's experience to help us as a board determine what we are looking for in the next superintendent and where we want to go as a district. So I really appreciate that opportunity. And then I think I enjoyed the discussions and the thoughtful questions that we had as a board. And it was very helpful to hear everyone's opinions and get the feedback that we needed to go ahead and work together as a board.
Yeah, I would just comment that I thought that everyone worked well together, and it was nice to have the open discussion where everyone was heard, and Dr. McBride has to retire eventually. So
yeah,
he doesn't want to stay here forever. So I mean, as a district, we do need to look beyond. You know, even though we'll get him for another year, which is great. You know, we came to a good decision together. I agree with that. So, but then we can look as we have to transition to the next stage of life, we can begin to look.
So that being said, we asked you to stay on for an additional year. And when we get later on into the agenda, when we're approving the contract addendum, our goals are to build cohesion as a newly elected board by working with a superintendent who's, has proven success, allow time to plan thoughtfully for the district's next superintendent, and work together to define exactly where we want the district to go, what goals we're going to set, and move forward, provide stability and continuity during the superintendent search and the transition to the new leadership. That was also the conversation that we had, is what will Dr. McBride's role be in onboarding that new superintendent and also during the process, and then ensuring consistent leadership through the completion of current construction planning projects. So, all right, that's my president's report.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, it's time for my superintendent report.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
Kind of going from that, I really appreciate the opportunity from the board, as you consider a number of different opportunities. Things before me this year and my family were retirement this year. Actually, my original plan was retirement last year. I appreciate board member Hayes saying you do have to retire at some time, and that is true. If you're going to have a second curve, you want to explore things that you've never done before, and that is very true. And taking advantage of that, certainly retirement, seeking another district to be a superintendent of, certainly could be an option. Seeking other work in different places, but I'm very pleased just to call the end of my public education career in Lockport Township High School. I shared with Dr. Shaw, I kind of came back to myself, right? Where I was very strategic when I had an opportunity to have a superintendent license, seek the superintendency. There's a very unique thing about a township high school. You have the opportunity to be a superintendent, but you also have the opportunity to know students' names, to be involved in student recognitions, to be part of the life of the school. So you really get the best of both worlds. You stay grounded in education, but at the same time, you get to work with a really great school board and work with a great community. So I'm very pleased to do that for another year. I consider myself extremely lucky. You know, by the time it's done, if I make it, you know, I hope I do, Lord willing, good health and all that kind of thing. You know, I've almost 40 years in public education, and it's because I've worked with great people like you who believe in the promise of public education as well. So I'm humbled that you're extending this, and it really aligns, you know, with my goals. And I'm excited to help you really think about that transition, because it is it's a massive undertaking. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of cohesion among board members. The best hiring for superintendents is when there's a very cohesive board that's worked together to really think about what their goals are. I can assure you of that. So thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm honored. A couple things really quickly. I included a calendar, you know, kind of thank you very much to Mrs. Maxwell for putting this together. These are all of the events that run through December, and there are a lot. But as we heard earlier today, there's just no substitute from actually being there. So there's a couple of things, number of things just coming up, you know, straight away. You know, not only we have walk-in talks on Wednesday morning. I'll be doing a East Campus walk-in talk. You're all invited. I know Mrs. Garrettson has signed up. That's 7:45 a.m. Mr. Ammer is nice enough to do a tour of Central Campus on Thursday night. There's also a twofer. One of the largest area college and career fairs is here on Thursday night, 6 p.m. Really outstanding. So I really would recommend, you know, if you can even stroll through, it's incredible. We have the trades, we have the military here, traditional colleges. We get people near and far. We get colleges I never see at college fairs that come to our college fair, and we partner with Lamont Township High School District. I'd also, just if we're looking downrange at the very last week of October, the Gold Card Dinner. I just think this is one of the most important things. Gold Card was created in 1969. And it's just, we get very, very loyal Lockport folks at the high school. Means a lot. Right now, we're plus about 130 coming out. Dinner at 5 p.m. and then heading down to the musical. And I just think it's a absolutely key time for us to engage those constituents. You know, I think all of our student board members have RSVP'd that you will be there. You will mix and mingle. It's going to be outstanding. So I'd really highlight that. Number of other things coming your way. You can see them, but just really great opportunities. If Kathy and I can guide you in any way, tickets, madrigals, that kind of thing, you know, we're here to serve. So just let me know. Annual student academic achievement. We owe a lot of thanks to, this is for veteran board members, here is your copy. I want to give this to you now because it will give you some time to look it over. This is a very, very different format. A lot of people here to thank: Jeanette Castillo, Lori Cristofero, Angela Huntington, lots of people on here. You're going to see the design work. This is very heavy, by the way. You're going to see the design work of Eric Slager. What we've tried to do is create a document. One, if we run out, let me know. I think I counted those off correctly. If we didn't, we'll get them to the students. And you are certainly invited to come to this meeting next week. I think it would be good. I'll get myself around there to get, I think we're one short. I think you have two, Luann. Yeah.
Pass it around. This is for.
Oh, no, I'll just get one for Ryan, and we'll get one to Mrs. O'Halloran as well. So this has a very different feel. It's not the 120 to 140 pages of data table sheets that we've set out before. It's really aligned to my superintendent goals. You'll see that it has 5 sections. It has some things that you will see on the Illinois School Report Card. That data is embargoed until October 30th. Some things that ACT score, for example, graduation rate, freshmen on track, but then many things that the School Report Card doesn't cover. advanced placement performance, dual credit performance, community and career connections, which are also a goal, current goal of the board. So I'd really ask you to take this with you. Our vision is that this is going to end up with real estate agents. It's going to end up with our mayors. In the very back, we did include in the very back how the school report card is calculated. I'll maybe tease you next week just with the educator preview of 2024, 2025, but I can't show the whole thing to you, so I'll be a rule follower and show it to you in November. So just a ton of work. Also, I was remiss, our new assessment coordinator, Kelly Featherling, did a tremendous amount of work on this, as did Mr. Slager's colleague, Mr. Pat Dean. So you can see all the people listed there, but people have just done a fabulous job. Any questions about this document? I'd really just ask you to use it for your preparation next week. And we'll come and spend about 2.5 hours really digging into it. Okay? Enjoy. I hope you like the look, the feel. Yeah, Mr. Wyatt.
Do we go to the thing next week too?
You are more than welcome to go because it's the full board. Okay. If Evelyn's going to be there because it's curriculum committee, but it's called committee of the whole. It's everybody's going to serve as curriculum committee. If you have an engagement, don't worry about it.
Sounds good.
No worries. Let's dive into the proposed 8-period day. That's really kind of the main event here, unless there are any questions on the academic performance report. And I'll tease you on the 2024, 2025. Mrs. Johnson's going to be so excited. There are growth charts. Oh, Mrs. Johnson, you've wanted that on that Illinois State report, school report card so long. You finally got it. There's some good news too. 8-period day. You know, what we've tried to do, kind of building on what Mrs. Kishline said, is bring you a concept, expanding. It's a traditional day, not a block schedule, not a hybrid block schedule, not a, not really any kind of the exotic scheduling you might see out there. We want to do that for stability. Want to open up opportunities for our students. We brought you a concept, but we've also brought you a cost. And there is a reason why the cost that we presented to you is assuming that every student will take a 6th class. And it's really because we feel like we're trying to open up opportunity for students. We're trying to open up dual credit. We're trying to open up workplace experience, internship experience, advanced placement experience. We believe all of that adds to the rigor of our township high school district. We do, as I listed, we do have issues that have to be decided to really kind of bring this all into alignment. So we're sort of not done with our work. We've got cost there, but we also have things to decide, but like between Central and East. Will we use the same bell schedule? How will discretionary plan periods be used between the two equitable way? How will we handle situations where students go into their senior year, they've met all their graduation requirements, and so they might want something different? I think, there might be a difference of opinion between students and between educators who would say, we offer so many things. The 8-period day was predicated on students taking advantage of those offers. So there's quite a bit to decide still, and let me just open it up to your questions. Yeah.
You, in here, you state you need approximately 21 teachers.
That would be our low, our conservative estimate. If every single student takes a 6-period class, that would be our estimate, Luann.
I thought there was a teacher shortage. So.
There is a teacher shortage. I don't like to say this out loud. It doesn't, Dr. Green doesn't want me to say this. It doesn't seem to be impacting us. Okay. We have had year after year very robust hiring. I think we're attractive. I think our salary schedule is attractive. We're not the top in the area. We're not at the bottom in the area. Very competitive. That's through, bargaining with our union. So I think we're still very, very attractive. This area is very attractive, so taking advantage of that. Is that exact? That's really driven by what students sign up for, and that's never an exact science. We can do some prediction of what we think is going to expand, based on what students have said they wish they could have taken. So I think we have a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be looking for.
So what about the subs? That's factored in the substitutes.
We also have a really robust, we just have people who sub in our district. And then we also have task force who are permanent subs. You can expand task force if you feel you need to. I don't necessarily think we're going to get spread out, in that way, because once people sub, they usually come in for the day or the half day. And so, I think our strong sub pool and our task force pool will be able to cover those kind of things. It's a good question.
Do we feel like this is also, I know Ms. Kishline talked about the work-based learning program, but will this also expand opportunities for students, for example, that are going over to Lewis with Dr. Cristofero's, if they have the space in their schedule?
I don't know. It might have an impact on them. They go on Wednesday morning, being late arrival. So that would be interesting to see what we do scheduling-wise, right? And to see how attractive that might be. I think it'll open up a lot in the school day, for a lot of students, right? So that's a program that I think we'll have to play with, and that's what that Bell Schedule Committee is going to be all about.
Yeah.
That work. Wilco, how might this impact Wilco or Wilco programs? That's something we all sort out as well.
How will this help credit recovery students?
I think it'll help. I think it'll help credit recovery students because they'll, if you're a student who's struggling and you need as many options as you can get, this gives you 6 more options in regular classes. That is ideally, I think everybody would agree that we would prefer to have students in full classes rather than doing credit recovery because they failed a class, right? And they're trying to recover the part of the class that they failed to see if they can get a passing grade. So I think anything that opens up more opportunities during the school day is going to open up more opportunities for them. I hope it's for, classes that they're taking.
So the credit recovery should go down.
No, not necessarily, Luann. Right. We have a very low failure rate already. So it does not necessarily mean credit recovery will go down because credit recovery is not just students who have failed classes. Sometimes it's students who they're coming back from a mental health issue, from a physical health issue. They've missed class due to that. There's some interruption in their learning. They have to recover something. So it varies independent of a schedule, what student needs are. So, but we do a great job addressing it in Park.
I have a question.
Tammy.
I know we've discussed it quite a bit, but it's not going to just be a class that everyone gets to choose. We are going to change what is required for, or at least the district has talked about changing.
Well,
what's
that's a discussion
studies.
that, we would have to have. Now, we're not poised right now. I would not recommend, board member Hallen and I had a conversation about this. Any change in required classes, not just suggested classes, you are actually going to move from 22 to 24 credits. You're going to have some kind of hard required class. I would give that at least a year.
Okay.
And the reason why I would say that is to see how things play out and see how the schedule plays out.
Right.
Generally, without a year lead time, a change in graduation requirements, when you impose that, all right, it's this class that has to face those graduation requirements, which you always want to make sure is that you never put someone in a position that they've been moving along, suddenly graduation requirements change, and that really changes their dynamic. They get caught off guard, right? So you can do some very influential school counseling, right? And shape and shift students like we've done in equal opportunity schools. We've grown, advanced placement participation by 1,000 students because we've really, in an entrepreneurial way, looked for students who we think have advanced placement ability, and that's been very successful. Our school counselors have been right on the money with students that they've recruited, and of course EOS has helped us with that too. You have some new classes tonight that are proposed. Some of those new classes are levers. But we haven't, we'll have a conversation about that, but the conversation about required coursework, it usually takes about a year and a half to really make sure you feel comfortable with that.
Okay, I just know that we had, and I can understand what you're saying there. Just that when you look at Illinois report card and you look at proficiencies across Illinois, that something, as you and I have discussed, like a more robust, real life, like biography type reading is not done as much.
Yeah, nonfiction, really
Yeah, nonfiction,
torquing up
exactly.
nonfiction reading, right?
Yeah.
You might, after your first year, you see how enrollments lay out, you come into your next year, you might say, I've shared with you, this is the only district that I've worked in my career that has the absolute minimum, for example, in social studies, right?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is if you open up an 8-period day, now you have less competition between different courses. There will be competition introduced as these new graduation mandates come online, world language, science, right?
Yeah, for
But
sure.
what you're doing with an 8-period day is opening up what's possible.
Right.
So it's a, I think it really creates a both.
Right, yeah.
For those kind of courses, right?
For sure.
Where does college kind of a, test, taking skills class reside? Would the board require that? We'd have to have a really robust discussion. Is that a required class? Because then you have to ask the question, is the ACT really what your goal is? You currently have college and career goals, which are related to advanced placement, dual credit, internship work. Is that something that you would want to change? And if you really improved ACT performance, is that really aligned to your academic goals? We'll dig in next week and really take a look. What does the ACT test? What doesn't it test? Right? That's really, really important to be aware of.
Right, yes. And I definitely, part of the reason why I asked is that I want it to be out there for the public to hear and for people to
Right.
understand. It's not just so that we can add an extra hour so that the kids can leave early.
Right.
That's really not the.
Yeah,
that's
everybody's
really
weighing
not,
in on that, aren't they? Right? There's ultimately going to have to be a recommendation.
And I understand. And coming
Yeah.
from my high school, I was the first year to ever have an early bird class, and I signed right up. I wanted to go to school for that extra hour to get more credits in the things that I found important and cared about. So I just want that to be, we're not just discussing this so that we can, mess with our schedule or open up the parking lot. This is, we're concerned about proficiencies and what the students are able to do in the time that they're here, and that's why we're discussing this.
Yeah, and I think that what we've heard from the students too is they are struggling to make choices in classes.
Amen.
They want to take these electives and they can't get into them.
Absolutely, yep.
So.
And our committee might be encouraging you to manage the getting students into 6 classes, lunch and PE. That's really the design and the intent that might disappoint students who want options. But one of the things is typically you hear older students say that, well, I'm going to be a senior. I'm going to have all my graduation requirements done. But one of the things I would, respectfully say to seniors is you have to go all the way down to freshmen, sophomore, juniors. The idea is that you're opening up those not only opportunities, but district priorities in terms of achievement. And what you want to do is, like Mrs. Kishline said earlier, have students take a wide range of different types of classes, so you're opening that up for them with 6 different choices, right? So lots to decide.
So from sophomore to senior year, would this add 3 additional credits to the transcript?
It would add 3 additional full credits. It would add, 6 semester credits. If you look at it that way, you can look at it as, James, as semester classes or full year classes, however you look at it.
And how many do we require to graduate right now?
22.
Okay.
We're not raising the requirements though at this time.
I would not recommend I would not recommend doing this and raising the graduation requirements. It would create quite a bit of stress on the system. It doesn't give you as a board also a sense of where are students naturally signing up. And then inevitably you have to decide who is the class that, if you do graduation requirements and you change them, who is the class that falls on, right? Is that, Is that some incoming class? Is that the current class at Central? You have to really think that through because you just don't want anyone to get stuck.
For sure.
I think I shared with you my biggest concern too was the $1.9 million. Like, I had a couple concerns of one, where that money comes from and understanding it fully. And then my second concern was, are we paying $1.9 million to what Tammy had mentioned, that we're just allowing kids to either come in late or they're leaving early and they're not really even benefiting from the opportunity. I understand that we need the 8 periods. I'm not discrediting that by any means. I just feel like those are the things that when I've had conversations with people, those are the things that have come up, and they've been my own personal concerns as well.
Right, and that's a really astute, and I don't want to faff away, $1.9 million is $1.9 million. In a budget like ours, Mrs. Croy and I do believe, for example, through the budgeting process that will start in January, if you can even believe it, that we can plan for that, and we can plan for that in a long-term way as well. Probably looming on the horizon, the bigger thing that the board really has to think about is facility planning, because that is we're at a stage where looking at facility planning just has more zeros to it. And that's not to diminish a 1.9 million. Interestingly enough, that number becomes more true if the feeling of our bell schedule committee, if the feeling of the board is that every student should take a 6th class. That number that drives that cost up, right? I would tell you that I have been in districts that when they've made schedule changes like this, early dismissal or late arrival was a financial savings strategy, because you have seniors, they're registering for less classes generate less staff means you take that 1.9 and you save some money off of it because you have a group of students who are taking less classes. So we went into that financial estimate making the assumption that the committee, the board's head was at, we want to see expanded opportunities. We want all students to take advantage of those expanded opportunities. That's why, why we're doing it. Enrollment, what we've used is a strategy that enrollment drives the staffing plan, which drives the cost. Now, having said that, we have managed, really astute of you, Wendy, we have managed hiring costs through who we hire. We're just in a season where we have quite a bit of veteran employees who are retiring. We onboard newer, younger, less experienced. I always say it might be kind of, second tier 2 or second, not second necessarily second choice, but sort of younger and less experienced, but not second rate by any stretch of the imagination. We've just year after year hired really excellent people. This year's employee costs are $300,000 less than last year. And then last year was less than the year before. So we've managed that just through our hiring practices.
If we're not going to change the credits that are required, if we move forward with this, are we going to institute the early or late start, or will we wait on that as well?
Well, I can't answer that because I think it's awfully important from a process point of view to, if you green like this tonight, to pull our bell schedule committee together and then give us some time to suss out and sort out all of these issues and come back to you with a recommendation that is a precursor to the staffing plan that you would get in March. So I just think it's important, rather than, Dr. McBride decides it right here, right now, to involve all of our different partners, who have been on that committee, to do listening sessions with our staff, to really sort that out with all the best thinking that we can get.
I have a couple of comments and a question regarding the 8-period day. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, we can, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to echo the comments regarding the 8-period day is a great opportunity for the students to access further education. And I don't necessarily think that the goal should be to have a late start, early release. And so I think that that should really be taken, take a look at and thought about in that perspective, especially as Wendy mentioned, you're looking at, $1.9 million cost that should be invested in the student's education and not them leaving early for, benefits that they seem to see differently. So I think that should be looking at closely. And as we look at the need here that you mentioned for 21 additional teachers, the conversation has come up a couple different times, and you have mentioned, Dr. McBride, that there was space for these teachers. I guess when you're looking at 21 teachers, will there be some sharing of classrooms with that number, or is there total accommodation for every teacher to have their own classroom?
Yeah, we more and more have teachers who share their classrooms currently, either because there's particular equipment that they need to teach their class, or just because we have available classes and we have to meet the schedule. This particular schedule, because it adds a whole just structure of time, of open time, really the 8th period operates like the 7th period, like the 6th period, like the 5th period, the 4th period, 3rd period, 2nd period, 1 period. The same building is available in the same classrooms at the same time. It's sorting all of that out in a master schedule that we'll really need to do. Now, of course, let's say you have a sudden spike in popularity that you never expected, and this already happens, where you just, gosh, you've got some kind of conflict that doesn't allow a certain amount of students. We have 7 periods we've had this happen, 8 periods we've had this happen, where we just can't get, we're booked up completely. Then you do have to have some kind of strategy to say to a certain population of students, hey, maybe you're going to have to take that next year, right? Because we only have 8 periods. We can't add a 9th, and those classes are full all the way up and down the board with the classrooms that we have for that particular subject. So that, that is a situation. But this isn't where we're running, some type of maybe block, 90-minute block that runs concurrently with traditional classes, and there's a competition for space between the 90-minute block classes and the traditional size classes. We're not running, that kind of, like Mrs. Kishline mentioned, the split schedule. One of the biggest mashups during the split schedule in the district's history was when there was overlap. It was when the morning crew and the afternoon crew had overlap. That was very destabilizing in terms of the master schedule and also movement on campus. That's not part of our proposal. And just to help everybody out, I really want everyone to understand where our committee, if you look at our documents, our committee, there is nowhere in any of our documents, if I opened up sort of the defining principles that we had of early dismissal or late arrival. We never as a committee last year recommended that. I think people have put their eyeballs, especially students, we've involved student voice. Students have put their eyeballs on this and said, well, this is kind of interesting, right? But I just wanted the board to know that in none of our documents from the committee last year did we ever high priority early dismissal or late arrival. That's an idea that's taken legs, especially as students and even some board members, really, to be honest, have looked at this schedule. But it's not something that came out of our committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
I see a lot of advantages to the 8-period day, simply because I have worked in 2 districts now that have offered that 0-hour class, and it's typically your band kids, your choir kids, the kids that are involved in, you're not typical electives that, would be, they're typically college bound, but like not required for college admission. So I think that this is opening opportunities for them, and they're not having to make that difficult choice to give up something that they absolutely love early on in order to make space in their day, so.
Looks like that's my report.
Okay.
So thanks, everyone. Great questions. You know, and I would share with you, it's really important. A lot of these questions I've had with you individually, but it's really important here to kind of put them out in the collective so that we can kind of come back right back around to them. And also the public has no way of knowing what's on your mind unless you illuminate it. So I think that's just, you know, so important to hear from a number of people. Really great. So thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. All right. Curriculum report, it says no information.
Yeah, with your permission, I think I can work through these reports. Just go right through them. So curriculum report, no report because we'll have a full committee of the whole next week. So you'll have plenty of curriculum, discussion primarily through the lens of student achievement. What has the curriculum accomplished? Principals report, our principals, it is National Principals Month, and specifically Friday is National Principals Appreciation Day. You guys get your month next month on November 17th. Strange enough, we have a board meeting on National Board Appreciation Day. But, you know, the principals, even though they're at their state conference, they submitted reports. If you have any questions, I certainly can answer those. Your behavior, your attendance report, your dropout data, student enrollment report is there. As I mentioned to you, my next cross to bear is attendance. I just, much like graduation rate, there just seems to be something that's not adding up between how we take attendance and the state looks at attendance. So something just doesn't seem right. 2 overnight field trips, just this is always to make you aware that porters will be traveling, staying overnight, all the good work there. And then you've got Mr. Ammer's report. He's obviously here. If you have any questions, you might have noticed a new look in the East Campus cafeteria. Thank you, Mr. Ammer, for imagining that. Mr. Slager and I are always excited about uplighting. So any questions about the maintenance report?
I appreciate the pictures, yes.
Yeah, it's great.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
It'd be more focused at Dr. Cristofero. Has there been any work to bring back our JROTC program to Lockport?
Oh, I think I'm the person that you should ask about that. So I just got asked a question by another superintendent. There's been a lot of work, James, on that. Basically what happened is, I'm sorry, I can't remember how many years ago, our ROTC, all JROTC units, and that is nationally, the Department of Defense has really pulled back on ROTC, JROTC. That's Army, Navy, Air Force run those units. We had an Air Force unit. They require an officer, someone who is either an active officer or a retired officer, and a non-commissioned officer, enlisted person, sergeant, staff sergeant, petty officer, both. We had an officer and a non-commissioned officer. Our officer retired. And technical issues, aviation, right? So many officers, if they retire from the Air Force, they go to work for Lockheed Martin. Just pays a lot more than a public high school district. That's just a fact. So there's a lot of attractiveness in the private sector when you leave the Air Force. So it's highly competitive. So a lot of work has been done, but it hasn't been fruitful.
Well, thank you. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Onto the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 7 as stated?
I'll make them.
I'll motion.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, and seconded by Ms. O'Halloran. Roll call.
Garrison,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
Bright,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Shaw.
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the addendum of the superintendent's employment contract?
So moved. Second.
All right, motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Straight. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the 8-period school day at East and Central campuses beginning in the 26-27 school year?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Hayes, second by Ms. Lopez Caneva. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the 3 proposed international, oh, hang on, I have these in a different order in my book.
No, you're good.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Number
do
3
you have a
is
motion to
travel.
approve the 3 proposed international travel as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Ms. Lopez Caneva, seconded by Ms. O'Halloran. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the new course proposal for the 26-27 school year?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Would this be the time where I would?
This would be the time.
Okay. All right, so given that we are having a conversation about our academic achievement report next Monday, I would just like to approve this as written, however, pull and table the test-taking strategies course and vote on it on Monday when we're having a robust discussion about the achievement report.
Can we, I know I approved it, but can we table this and do it when we do the curriculum, the other one?
You could do either. You could table this for next week, or you could just, Dr. Shaw, you could motion to approve as presented, except for the test-taking strategies.
Would you like
You
to,
can do it either way you like.
would you like to motion to table the whole?
Yes,
Item?
until we talk about it next week.
I would agree. I would say table the whole thing.
So someone would need, probably the board president, then that's a fine way of doing it too, to just make an oral motion, which is different than the agenda. I move to table this, these course proposals until next week, and then you'll get a first, second, and then take a roll call on that.
So then I would like to move to table this new course proposal discussion until next week to vote on it.
I'll make the
Yeah,
motion.
Okay,
and I second.
and it stays the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we do a voice vote on that?
I think you do a voice vote, yeah.
Okay. All right. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the flexible spending plan amendment approval?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Straight. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the authorization to apply for the 2026 school maintenance grant?
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Hayes. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the action to expel student number 205033377?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hayes, second by Ms. Lopez Caneva. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, policy updates, press 119.
Press.net 119 is probably the most non-glamorous, unexciting policy review we've done in a long time. So I hope you see that very quickly as we come to the end of your board meeting. It's a lot of technical and small language change, but interesting enough, in the state of Illinois, if one word changes in the policy, the board has to approve it. So with your permission, I'll walk through your first reading. Hopefully I can make brisk work of it and just share with you. So first, these were all policies that were reviewed by press. They have footnote changes and legal reference changes, but they do not require you to vote on them because they have no substantial wording change at all. So we always put a slide. Thank you very much, Mrs. Maxwell and my colleagues for working on this. But those are the slides that were reviewed. Legal and footnote references change, but no policy change. Just walking this through. This policy was updated 2:80. This is the board member oath to literally correct the title of what the oath is called by IASB. For many years, press had a different title than what IASB had for your oath. The correct title of your oath is the Code of Conduct for members of school boards. Previously, it just said board member oath. That's not the actual name of it. So these are the kind of changes we'll be talking about. 4:55, this is use of credit cards and procurement cards. A number of us have these credit cards to expedite purchasing. This policy was updated just to reflect that credit limits vary by cardholder and are controlled by the superintendent or our designee, in this case, Stephanie Croy. They're not all the same. The limit I have is much higher than others because sometimes I'm helping purchase in all sorts of programs. Sometimes those have very, high costs. So my limit might be different than a department chair, for example. 2:130 is board superintendent relationship. This is just, it changes some wording. The following sentence, the board adopts policies necessary to provide, it strikes general, just provide direction for the district and to encourage achievement of district goals. What is the difference between general direction and direction? You provide direction. So simplified, literally striking of one word. 7:40, non-public school students, including parochial and homeschool students. This makes, again, just one word change. The updated recommendation includes removing the word school in the sentence school district, just district. The update also abbreviates the word Illinois, changing it to ILL. Just pausing for any I just want to make sure the Illini get their thing done, right? 7:90. This is a release during school hours. This policy was updated from the statement for high school and unit districts only to a different location. So you can see the very, very minor change down at the bottom. This is only applicable to high school and unit districts, not to K-8 districts, to allow, speaking of early dismissal and late arrival, right? And then finally, search and seizure. This policy update, just some minor word changes, striking the word there, affects left there on school just affects left on school property. By licensed, we could talk about licensed staff these days, not certified staff. So this refers to any type of search or seizure, but really, really in minor word change levels. Fundraising activities, this policy includes one minor change in response to a 5-year review. The proposed change is to add the word board in front of policy. Board policy 8:90. That's the cross reference. So it adds a word, you have to approve it. Gifts to the district, this policy update includes correcting the spelling of the word programming in the policy. It was a typo. And adding the following statement to number 5 of that policy: be viewpoint neutral when the gift involves the incorporation of any messages. This kind of gets into advertising. You have to be viewpoint neutral. If you accept advertising and get into it, you really have to be agnostic of kind of playing viewpoints or playing favorites if you have an advertising policy, or accepting gifts or not accepting gifts. So that's it. Very, 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 very technical. So.
Okay, announcements.
All right, announcements. You know, just you have your calendar. Really, these echo what's going on with the calendar. I think the most important things coming up, you know, fall choir concert tomorrow, 7 p.m., Three Rivers Division meeting, and that gold card dinner. You know, if you can only make the dinner 5 to about 6:15, that's great. If you make the musical, I think we have a high water mark because people, you know, are very into. We switched. We used to have a fall play, spring musical. Now we have a spring play, fall musical. Always very exciting. And some other things coming up. Madrigal dinner, I also feel that's a really good can't miss. But you do require tickets because it's sellouts all the way, you know. So just let us know and we'll get you seated. Okay, that is the announcements.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Regular meeting adjourned at 9:01.
All right, hey, have a